Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the top 10 vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1950s and 1960s for February 2026. Now, when you're talking cards from the 50s and 60s, it's not too surprising that cards of Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays would dominate top 10 sales lists, and that's what we see here for the month of February. But there are some cards of other players that crack the top 10 list, especially for the cards from the 1960s. So let's go check out the two top 10 lists. All right, let's start off with the top 10 from the 1950s. At number 10, we have this 1954 Red Heart Mickey Mantle in a PSA 8.5. This one sold on February 1st for $16,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8.5 is $14,030. This sale here at $16,000 represents a new record high sale for a PSA 8.5 copy. The previous high was $14,030 back in October of last year through Golden Auctions. Now, there have been 9 copies graded a PSA 8.5, 40 have been graded a PSA 9, and only 2 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 9, we have this 1956 Topps Willie Mays Whiteback version in a PSA 8. This one sold on February 1st for $16,357. It was an auction. There were 36 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8 is this sale here at $16,357 and represents a new record high sale for a PSA 8 copy. In fact, the previous high was only $1,715 all the way back in August of 2019 through memory lane. The reason being, there have only been 3 that have been graded a PSA 8 and none have been graded higher. At number 8, we have this 1951 Bowman Willie Mays in a PSA 6. This one sold on February 18th for $22,500. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 6 is $29,265. The record high sale was $46,111 back in February of 2022 through memory lane. Now, there were 2 other 1951 Bowman Willie Mays sales in February. First one, we have a PSA 5 copy that sold on February 25th for $17,500, and then a PSA 4 copy sold on February 9th for $10,800. At number 7, we have this 1956 Topps Mickey Mantle Grayback version in a PSA 8. This one sold on February 24th for $23,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8 is $18,130. The record high sale was $24,600 back in, actually through Fanatics Collect in the month of February here in 2026. Now, there have been 368 copies graded a PSA 8. 38 have been graded a PSA 8.5. Also, 38 have been graded a PSA 9, and 5 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there were 2 other 1956 Topps Mickey Mantle sales in February. The first one, another PSA 8 copy, sold on February 24th for $20,000, and then yet another PSA 8 sold on February 1st for $17,100. At number 6, we have this 1954 Bowman Mickey Mantle in a PSA 8. This one sold on February 24th for $23,700. It was an auction. There were 57 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8 is $21,320. This sale here at $23,700 represents a new record high sale for a PSA 8 copy. The previous high was $21,350 just last month in January of 2026 through Heritage. There have been 88 copies graded a PSA 8, 8 have been graded a PSA 8.5, and only 11 have been graded a PSA 9, with none graded a PSA 10. At number 5, we have this 1953 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 7. This one sold on February 12th for $25,750. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 7 is $26,362. The record high sale was $51,600 back in March of 2022 through PWCC. And there were 3 other 1953 Topps Mickey Mantle sales of note in February. The first one, a PSA 7 off-center copy, sold on February 24th for $16,500. Then a PSA 6 copy, sold on February 10th for $15,250. And finally, a PSA 5 copy, sold on February 10th for $10,000. At number 4, we have the 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle in an SGC 5. This one sold on February 1st for $30,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for an SGC 5 is $22,740. But the record high sale was $52,800 back in May of 2022 through PWCC. And there were 2 other 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle sales in February of note. The first one, a PSA 2.5 copy, sold on February 9th for $17,000. And then a PSA 2 copy, sold on February 26th for $14,000. At number 3, we have our first non-Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays card show up in the top 10 list. It's the 1952 Topps Jackie Robinson in a PSA 8 off-center. This one sold on February 12th for $39,500. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8 qualifier is $39,500 this sale here, and represents a new record high sale for a PSA 8 qualifier. The previous high was $10,300 back in June of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. There have been 44 copies graded a PSA 8. 4 have received a PSA 8 qualifying grade. 11 have been graded a PSA 9, and none have been graded a PSA 10. And there was one other 1952 Topps Jackie Robinson sale in February. We have a PSA 3 copy that sold on February 22nd for $15,000. At number 2, we have a 1955 Topps Roberto Clemente in a PSA 7.5. This one sold on February 22nd for $42,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 7.5 is $33,900. The record high sale was $44,400 back in May of 2022 through Heritage. And at number 1 for the month of February from the 1950s, we have this 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle in an SGC 1.5. This one sold on February 4th for $45,000. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for an SGC 1.5 is $43,200. And this sale here at $45,000 represents a new record high sale for an SGC 1.5. The previous high was $43,200 back in September of 2022 through Heritage, and then most recently through a February Fanatics Collect auction. Now, there were 3 other significant 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle sales in February. We have a PSA Authentic Altered that sold on February 17th for $41,500. A PSA 1 sold on February 27th for $39,000. And finally, another PSA 1 sold on February 12th, also for $39,000. All right, let's get into the top 10 from the 1960s. At number 10, we have this 1967 Venezuela Retirado Sandy Koufax in an SGC 1.5. This one sold on February 16th for $6,500. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for an SGC 1.5 is $6,875. The record high sale was $7,250 back in July of last year through eBay. Now, there have been 4 copies that have been graded an SGC 1.5. Only 10 have graded higher, and the highest SGC graded copy is a 5. At number 9, we have this 1957 Topps Nellie Fox in a PSA 9. This one sold on February 2nd for $6,750. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for a PSA 9 is this sale here at $6,750 and represents a new record high sale for a PSA 9 copy. The previous high was $4,891 back in January of last year through memory lane. There have only been 23 copies graded a PSA 9 and only 1 has been graded a PSA 10. At number 8, we have this 1965 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 8. This one sold on February 22nd for $7,125. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8 is $6,009. The record high sale was $9,900 back in March of 2022 through REA. There have been 465 copies graded a PSA 8. 56 have been graded a PSA 9, but none have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there was one other significant 1965 Topps Mickey Mantle sale in February. Another PSA 8 copy sold on February 17th for $5,403. At number 7, we have this 1963 Topps Mickey Mantle in an SGC 8.5. This one sold on February 15th for $7,995. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for an SGC 8.5 is $6,710. This sale here at $7,995 represents a new record high sale for an SGC 8.5 copy. The previous high was $6,710 back in May of last year through Heritage. There have been 12 copies graded in SGC 8.5. Only 2 have received an SGC 9 grade, and none have been graded in SGC 10. At number 6, we have this 1962 Topps Stan Musial in a PSA 9. This one sold on February 6th for $8,500. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 9 is $5,800. The record high sale was $13,200 back in May of 2024 through Heritage. There have been 30 copies graded a PSA 9. None have been graded a PSA 10. At number 5, we have this 1964 Topps Willie Mays in a PSA 9. This one sold on February 7th for $10,302. It was an auction. There were 46 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 9 is $10,389. The record high sale was $16,470 back in October of last year through Heritage. There have been 77 copies graded a PSA 9. Only 2 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 4, we have this 1960 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 8. This one sold on February 22nd for $10,600. It was an auction. There were 50 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 8 is $10,156. The record high sale was $12,134 back in September of last year through memory lane. There have been 320 copies graded a PSA 8. Only 31 have been graded a PSA 9, and none have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there was one other significant 1960 Topps Mickey Mantle sale in February. A PSA 7 copy sold on February 2nd for $4,201. At number 3, we have this 1968 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 9 with a silver Mike Baker sticker. This one sold on February 22nd for $11,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 9 is $8,975, but the record high sale was $18,830 back in December of 2021 through memory lane. There have been 186 copies graded a PSA 9. 11 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 2, we have this 1967 Topps Pinups Roberto Clemente in a PSA 9. This one sold on February 5th for $12,000. It was an auction. There were 2 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 9 is this sale here at $12,000 and represents a new record high sale for a PSA 9 copy. The previous high was $2,670 all the way back in January of 2012 through Mile High. Now, while there have been 6 copies graded a PSA 8, this copy here in the PSA 9 is the only one graded at that level, and there have not been any PSA 10s. At number 1, from the 1960s for February 2026, we have this 1966 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 9. This one sold on February 17th for $22,500. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 9 is $23,400. The record high sale was $33,210 back in December of last year through REA. There have been 79 copies graded a PSA 9, but only 1 has been graded a PSA 10. Now, there were 2 other 1966 Topps Mickey Mantle sales of note for February. The first one, another PSA 9 copy, sold on February 7th for $21,767, and then finally a PSA 8 copy, sold on February 12th for $4,300. Well, there you go, the top 10 vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1950s and 1960s for February 2026. As always, would love to know what you think about the cards that made the 2 top 10 lists, and with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.